Hi guys, welcome back to Aisha.Academy, and in today's video I'm going to be going through the summer 2019 GCSE Maths Edexcel foundation papers. If you have any recommendations of any examples you would personally like me to go through for the 2019 papers, I'm going to be going through them for GCSE Maths and A-level Maths. Please comment down below and hopefully I'll try and get them out this week and next week. So yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so looking at the first question, it literally just says write 180 minutes. Oh, yeah. So it says write 180 minutes in hours. So literally we know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. So if we're trying to work out 180 minutes in hours, you could do 180 divided by 60, which would give you an answer of 3. And so bear in mind that this is a non-calculator paper, so then therefore you know that it's 3 hours. So that would be 3. And then going down to the next question, so it says write 0.73 as a percentage. So converting decimals into percentage. I'm going to be putting different links of different videos that I go through certain topics in the questions above, if you want to refresh your memory. But this will be 0.73. You're going to times that by 100. So again, times by 100, my technique is that there's 2 zeros in 100, so move forward 2 decimal spaces. So that would be 73%. And then having a look at question 3, so it says work out 10 times 3 plus 5. So you're going to do the 3 plus 5 first, because in your bod mass, remember that brackets is the first part and brackets comes before multiplication. So you're going to add what's in the brackets first, which is going to give you an answer of 8. And then you're going to do 10 times 8, which is 80. So that's that answer. And then moving down to the next question, it says write down a prime number that is between 20 and 30. So remember, a prime number is a number where the only way to make it by multiplication is by timesing 1 by itself. So we can think of one which is 23. Another one that you could have used could have been 29, and this is the one. So moving over to the next question, it says find the number that is exactly halfway between 7 and 15. So you could just write down 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We know that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So you could do 9 plus 1 divided by 2, which is 5. And then you're therefore trying to look for the fifth number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should end up with 11. There's different ways that you could work this out. You could work out the difference between, another way is working out the difference between 15 and 7, which is 8, and then doing 8 divided by 2, which would be 4, and then adding 4 onto the 7, which would also give you 11, or you could just write them out and then try and find out the middle number. Okay, so next question. Harry is planning a holiday for 4 people for 7 days. Here are the costs for the holiday for each person, and it's therefore given us travel cost, hotel cost for each day, and spending money. So it wants us to work out the total cost of the holiday for 4 people for 7 days. So bear in mind, these are the costs for each person. So I know that travel for all 4 people will be 150 times 4, which would give us £600. And then remember, hotel is £50 per day. We know that it's for 7 days. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll do for the hotel 50 times 7, which will be 350. So I know it's £350 for 7 days for one person. So to work out 7 days for 4 people, you do 350 times by 4, which would leave you with an answer of £1,400. And then for spending money, times that by 4, which would leave you with £1,000. So then add that all together, you're going to have the 600 plus the 1,000 plus the 1,400. That should leave you with 0, 0, and then the 0, carry the 1, 3. So that should be a total of £3,000. So moving on to the next question. Okay, so it says in Adam's garden, the flowers are only red or white or yellow or blue. And it says that the chart shows the number of red flowers, the number of yellow flowers, and the number of white flowers. Don't know why I read that backwards, but yeah, here's the chart. So it says total number of flowers is 30 and work out the number of blue flowers. So we can do it is 30 minus the number of red, white, and yellow flowers. So there are, if I just zoom out, 30 flowers in total. So there's 8 red ones, 10 white ones. Make that a neater line. 10 white ones, and there are 5 yellow ones. So 30 minus 8 minus 10 minus 5, and that should leave you with an answer of 7 blue ones. Another way you could have worked it out is you could have done the 8 plus 10 plus 5, then take away that from 30. Either way, you would be left with the same answer. And then it says write down the mode. So remember, mode is most common, right? So we're trying to figure out which color flower is the most common color flower out of the bunch. So based on this, I would say that it is the white one that's most common because white is the biggest number, is 10. So therefore we would say that the mode is white, and simply because white is the highest number. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So it says write down the following fractions in order of size with the smallest fraction first. So the easiest way when it comes to these questions is make them all the same denominator, then it's easier for you to compare. So we can see that the highest number denominator is 12, and all the numbers 2, 4, and 3 can go into 12. They can be converted into a fraction with 12 as the denominator. So if we look at the third, if we're trying to convert into 12 as the denominator, 3 times 4 would make 12, so you're going to times the top by 4. So that would be converted into 4/12. And then the 3/4, 4 times 3 gives 12, so do the same to the top. That would leave you with 9/12. So we've got our 4/12, 9/12, and then the quarter times the top by 3, so that'll be 3/12. And then the 7/12 will remain the same, and then the half is going to be our 6/12, because a half to a denominator of 12, we know that 2 times 6 does that, so we do that to the top, and that will leave us with 6/12. Now we can compare. So you can see the smallest one is the 3/12. But remember, don't actually put 3/12 in your answer, put the original fraction, which is a quarter. So a quarter would go first, then it would be the third, then it would be the 6 out of 12, remember, right at half. Then it would be the 7 out of 12, so that was the original fraction, so we write it as that. Then it would be the 3/4. Okay, so, alright. Let's go to the next question. So it says Ruth left her home at 9 a.m. to walk to the library. She got to the library at 10:30 and she walked at a speed of 4 miles per hour. It wants us to work out the distance that Ruth walked. So remember, this is based on the formula of speed equals distance divided by time. Learn that like the back of your mind, or you may be familiar with it from the formula triangle, which would be S at the bottom, D at the top, and T on the other side at the bottom. So to work out distance, we are going to do her speed times her time. So speed times time. It says her speed is 4 miles per hour, so we're going to put 4. And then in terms of her time, so she left home at 9, got to the library at 10:30, so she spent 1 hour and 30 minutes. But because the speed is in miles per hour, we want to make sure that we put this as a decimal in hours. So that'll be 1.5 hours. So it'll be 4 times 1.5, which should leave you with an answer of 6 miles. So 6. Then it now says that Ruth got to the library at 10:30. She stayed at the library for 50 minutes. Then she walked home. So Ruth took 1 hour and a quarter to walk home. What time did she get home? So when she gets to the library at 10:30, she actually spends 50 minutes there. So we need to add that 50 minutes on. So adding 30 minutes would get us to 11. And then we've only added 30 out of the 50 minutes. We need to add the extra 20 to make our 50 minutes. So that means she stayed to the library till 11:20. It says that she took an hour and a quarter to walk home. So an hour and a quarter is equivalent to 1 hour and 15 minutes. In order to work out the minutes, you could work out a quarter of 60, aka a quarter times 60. So then we're going to add that hour 15 minutes on. So plus an hour 15, you should get an answer of 12:35, which means she got home at 12:35 p.m. Because now it's afternoon time. Okay, so looking at the next question. So it wants us to solve t plus t plus t is equal to 12. So if we're adding things together in algebra, you kind of collect them together. So think of the t's as like different apples. So you've got 3 apples or something. So now we've got 3t, 3 lots of t is equal to 12. Then to work out what t is, we're going to divide by 3 on both sides. That would leave you with t being equal to 4. Then the next one says x minus 2 is equal to 6. We're going to add 2 to both sides. That would leave us with x is equal to 8. So that's that question. Then the next one says 6w plus 2 is equal to 20. So we're going to take away 2 from both sides. That would leave us with 6w is equal to 18. And then divide by 6 on both sides. So the key thing is you always do the opposite of wherever you can to just leave the letter on its own. And we've done the same thing here. So that would leave us with w is equal to 3. Okay, so next question says work out 74 times 58. Bear in mind this is a non-calculator paper, so we could do long multiplication. So 74 at the top, 58 at the bottom. So first thing we're going to do is multiply our 8 by our 4. So then that will be 32. So it'll be 2, carry the 3. 8 times 7, which is 56. Add the 3, which is 59. Then with our 50, remember it's 58, so add the 0 representing as 50, then do the 5 times the 4, which is 20, so the 0, carry the 2. Then 5 times 7, which is 35, and then add the 2 that you carried, so then that will be 37. Then I'm going to remove these numbers just so it's neater and so it's less confusing. And then we're going to add this all together, so then it will be 2, 9, 5 plus 7, which is 12, so 2 carry the 1, and then 3 plus 1, which is 4. So now we've got 4292. And then on to the next question. So here it's saying that A and B are both perpendicular lines, and it wants us to find the value of x. So remember, when two perpendicular lines meet, they form a 90-degree angle. So we know that all of this will add up to 90 degrees. So we are going to do 90 minus 25 minus 25 again, these two 25s, and that would give us what x is equal to. So then that would leave us with an answer of 40. Or another way you could have done it again is add the 25s together, then take away that from 90. Then it's now saying that RS, TU are parallel lines and PQ is a straight line. It says the angle, an angle of the size 125 degrees is drawn, and it wants us to write down the letter of one other angle that is also the size of 125 degrees. So this is all to do with your questions on parallel lines. Again, link will be all in the description and above. So basically, we can see here that this is applying the rule of like vertically opposite angles are always equal. So B could be is 125 degrees. Another angle that's 125 degrees, if I put it in a different color, so it's less confusing. So here we can see this would be an example of like our corresponding angles. So remember that's the F shape one. So this and that. So it's always that the angle at the top there is the same as the one here. So this one would also be 125 degrees. So depending on which one that you put as your answer, I'll write down both. So I'll just put option 1. So that B is equal to 125 degrees because vertically opposite angles are equal. And your other option, it would be D, being 125 degrees because corresponding angles are equal. So you don't have to put both. It's just either or because it says write down the letter of one other angle. So it's just either or, but I want to show you why you could put either as your answer. Then it says explain why A plus B plus C is equal to 235 degrees. So A, we can work out what A is because we can see that A and B are 125 degrees. These two angles here are on a straight line. And we know angles on a straight line are 180 degrees. So A would be equal to 180 degrees, take away the 125 degrees, which would leave you with an answer of 55 degrees. In terms of to work out what C is, we can see that C is vertically opposite to A, so it's also 55 degrees. So if we're adding A, which is 55, plus our B, I'll put this in black. So A, which is 55, plus our B, which is 125, plus our C, which is 55. So that would leave us with 110 plus. So that would leave us with the 235 degrees. And in terms of your A being equal to 55 degrees, your reason would be because angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees, and then C being 55 degrees because vertically opposite angles are equal. And I want to show you another way that you could have worked this out, because the good thing with questions on angles and parallel lines, there's more than one way. So another way could have been in the sense that the 125 degrees in C is also on a straight line. So you could have worked out that that's 180 degrees because it's on a straight line, and then doing the same thing that you worked out A in terms of 180 minus 125 being 55, and then just saying that A is a vertically opposite angle, so therefore they're equal. So either way is fine. All right, so moving on to the next question. So it says the length of a line is X centimeters, and it wants us to write down an expression in terms of X for the length of the line in millimeters. So if X is in centimeters, so first of all, we want to convert centimeters into millimeters. So 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. So that's the first thing. And then, because to go from centimeters to millimeters, we're going to times by 10. So then if you've got something that's X centimeters, to go into millimeters, you want to times by 10. So you'll do 10 times X, which is just 10X. So then that length would be equivalent to 10X in millimeters. And then for the next question, it says work out 1/5 of 70. So remember, whenever you're working out a fraction of a number, you basically times that fraction by that number. So remember, timesing whole numbers by fractions, you times the whole number by the numerator. So it'll be 70 times 1, which is 70, and then 70 divided by 5, which would leave you an answer of 14. So if you didn't know how to work out that way, you could have just done short division and then worked out that that was 14. So how many times 5 goes into 7? 1's remainder 2, and then 4. Then it now says Fiona, our dearest Fiona, has to work out the value of 48 divided by a half, and she writes that 48 divided by a half is 24. Her reasoning is that there are 2 halves in 1, so there will be 24 halves in 48. Well, let's see if dearest Fiona is correct. Well, first of all, if we're dividing by a fraction, It's the same by flipping the fraction and multiplying it. So this would be the same as doing 48 times 2, essentially, because if you flip over 2 over 1, if you flip over a half, you get 2 over 1, and anything divided by 1 is itself. 48 times 2 would give us 96. So unfortunately, Fiona's wrong. And the reason why is because there are double the amount of halves. So yes, she's right in terms of 2 halves being in 1, but therefore you would then double that amount of 48, and so you'd end up with 96. So because there are double the amount of halves in a number, so there would be 96 halves in 48. So just something along those lines is fine. Then going to the next question, it says write down the value of root of 64, so square root of 64, which is 8. And then write down the value of 5 cubed. So 5 cubed is the same as saying 5 times 5 times 5. So we can split this up. So we could do 5 times 5 first, which is 25. Then do the 25 times 5, which would leave you with an answer of 125. And then on to the next question. So it wants us to expand this bracket. So remember, when you're expanding, you're multiplying what's on the outside by everything on the inside. So our 5 times 2m would leave us with 10m. And then 5 times minus 3 would give us minus 15. So you'd end up with 10m minus 15. And then it wants us to factorize 3n plus 12. So with factorizing, you want to find the common factor. So we can see that the common factor is 3. They don't have an n in common, so it's just going to be 3 on the outside of the brackets. Then divide everything in the equation by that common factor. So 3n divided by 3 would leave us with n, because they would cancel out. And then 12 divided by 3 would just be 4 plus 4. So that would be your final answer for that one. Then the next question, it says, Stuart throws a biased coin 10 times. He gets 7 tails. Maxine throws the same coin 50 times. She gets 30 tails. Prasha is going to throw the coin once. Whose result will give the better estimate for the probability that she will get heads or tails? Is it going to be Stuart's or is it going to be Maxine's? So in terms of, let's first of all work out their probabilities of getting tails. So in terms of working out Stuart's probability of getting tails, so out of 10 throws, Stuart's gets 7 tails. Stuart's probability of tails is 7 out of 10. Maxine gets 30 out of 50. So we're going to simplify this fraction. So that would end up as 3/5, which we're going to make it the same denominator as the top one. So for converting this to 10 as a denominator, you would times 5 by 2, do that to the top. So you end up with 6/10. So we can see that Stuart's probability of 7/10 is higher than Maxine's probability of 6 out of 10. So we'll just write Stuart's is equal to 7 out of 10 tails. Maxine is equal to 6 out of 10 tails. So we just say something along the lines of 7 out of 10 is bigger than 6 out of 10. And therefore, Stuart's gives a better estimate because it's a higher probability. Then it now says use Stuart and Maxine's results to work out an estimate for the probability that Prasha will get tails. So what it means by this is we are going to multiply both of their probabilities together, because then by doing that, it's going to be giving us more of an average of the likelihood of Prasha landing on tails. So then it's going to be 7 out of 10 multiplied by 6 out of 10. So remember, whenever you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the two numerators together and the two denominators together. So it'll be 7 times 6, which is 42, and 10 times 10, which is 100. We can simplify this further by dividing both the top and the bottom by 2. So the bottom would change to 50, the top would change to 21. So we've got a simplified fraction of 21 over 50. Okay, the next question says the diagram shows a rectangular garden path, and it says Wasim is going to cover the path with paving stones. Each paving stone is a square of side 30 centimeters, and each paving stone costs £2.50. Wasim has £220 to spend on paving stones, so we want to know if he has enough money to buy all the paving stones he needs. So what we can do is, if each paving stone, I'm just going to sketch it. So it's actually a square, not a circle. So each paving stone is 30 by 30. Okay, so what we can do is work out the area of one paving stone and the area of the total garden path. So for the garden path, for the area we are going to first of all convert the centimeters into meters, because it's just going to be easier for multiplying each other in a non-calculator paper. So 600 centimeters, if we know that 100 centimeters is in a meter, then it's equivalent to 6 meters, and this would be equivalent to 1.2 meters. So in terms of the garden path, it's going to be 6 times 1.2, which is nicer numbers to deal with. That would leave us with 7.2 meters. In terms of the paving stone, that's squared, by the way, because it's area. In terms of the paving stone, we can convert this into also meters. So then it's going to be 0.3. About it'll be 0.3. So then 0.3, so for the stone, we'll put one stone, be 0.3 times 0.3, which would leave us with 0.09. Okay, so now that we have that, by the way, this is meters squared. So now that we have that, what we can now do is we're going to end up doing the area of the garden path divided by the area of the one stone. So because no one really likes dealing with decimals, we can now convert this meter squared back into centimeter squared, which to go from meter squared to centimeter squared, you can times by 10,000. And the way of remembering that is because if we know that there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter, you could do 100 times 100, which would leave you with 10,000. So times the 7.2 by 10,000, aka moving forward 4 decimal places because it's 4 zeros, you'd end up with 72,000 centimeters squared. And then this one, also times by 10,000, would leave you with 900 centimeters squared. So then now we're going to do our 72,000 divided by our 900,000. To make life easier, we could write it this way as well. Either way, you should get the right answer. Cancel the 2 zeros, so you're left with 720 divided by 9. And then we know that 72 divided by 9 is 8, and then add the 0 from the top. So you've got 80. So then now we know that there's 80 total stones that he needs. So we now need to do the total stones he needs times by the price of one stone, which is £2.50. So you're going to end up doing £2.50 times 80, which would leave you an answer of 200. So we know he only needs a budget of £200, and therefore he does have enough money. So you could say something along the lines of 200 is less than 220, because that's how much he needs. Well, that's how much he has, sorry. So therefore, Wasim has enough money. With all these questions, they love like a little statement at the end just to kind of summarize your findings. So please get used to doing that. Okay, so question 19, taking away fractions. So whenever we're taking away fractions, it's easier when you have the same denominator. So we're going to change them all to have a common denominator of 15. So you would times the 2/5 by 5, and then this fraction by 3. So then now your new fractions would be 10 over 15. The reason why I chose 15 because that's the lowest common multiple between 3 and 5. Take away 3 over 15. So then you would then end up with 7 over 15 as your final answer. And then now we're multiplying fractions. So multiplying fractions is where you don't actually need the same denominator. So you're literally just going to times the numerators together times the denominators together. So that would leave you with 6 over 12. We can simplify this by dividing both top and bottom by 6, that should leave you with 1 over 2, aka a half. So moving on to the next question, it says here are two squares A and B. It says the length of the side of A is 50% of the length of the side of B. So it wants us to express the area of the shaded region of A as a percentage of B. So first of all, we're going to write our lengths. So let's say if B is equal to 1, I'm just going to use, or actually we'll use X. So each side of B is X, and we know that A is 50% of that, then each length on A is going to be 0.5x, or you could put X over 2. X over 2. So now we have each length. Now we're going to work out the area of B. So the area of B is just going to be length times width. So that's x times x, which is x squared. The area of A is going to be x over 2 multiplied by x over 2. So then remember, with fractions, times and numerators together, so x squared, denominators together, over 4. And then it says express the area of the shaded region of A as a percentage of the area of B. So with the shaded region of A, it's half of A. So half of the area of A is going to be x squared over 4 divided by a half, okay? So we're going to work out half of it. Sorry, times by half. Because we're working half of it. And remember, half of something, if you're working a fraction of something, same as multiplying it together. So numerators together, that'll be x squared over 8. So that's going to be the shaded area of A. And then now to work out that as a percentage of B, we are then going to do our x squared over 8 divided by the area of B, which is x squared. Again, whenever you're dividing by things, it's the same as flipping it and multiplying it when it comes to fractions. So that's the same as x squared over 8 times 1 over x squared. X squared's top and bottom are going to cancel out, so we're left with 1 over 8, and then remember with fractions, we like to times by 100. So, sorry, with percentages, we times by 100. So that'll be 100 divided by 8, which would leave you with an answer of 12.5%. Again, dividing by 8, the method you could also use is half 3 times. So half, half again, half again. So that would leave you with 12.5. Okay, so question 21, it says there are 40 students in a class. So each student walks to school or cycles to school or gets the bus to school. So it says that there are 22 girls in the class, 9 of the girls walk to school, 7 of the boys cycle to school, and 6 out of 10 of the students who get the bus to school are boys. So we can draw this in a very lovely table. So we could have mode of transport. So walk, they either walk, cycle, take bus, and we can have boys and gals. Okay. Oh. And we've got a total of 40 students. So we know that 7 boys cycle, 9 girls walk to school, and it says 6 out of 10 of the students who get the bus. We know 10 students get the bus in total. So I'm actually going to move that 40 over to here. That's like our total. So in terms of this now, we know that 6 out of 10 students who take the bus to school are boys. So 6 out of 10 take the bus who are boys, so therefore 4 of them will be girls. So that means total people that take the bus is 10. We know that, so we're working out the number of students who walk to school. So if we know 9 girls walk to school, 7 boys cycle. So in terms of this now, we know that there are 40 students in total and 22 of them are girls. So if 22 are girls, and we know 4 take the bus, 9 walk to school. So therefore, we are going to do 22, take away 4, take away 9 to work out how many girls cycle. So then that should leave you with an answer of 9. again. So then that'll be 9 there. So we know in total, 16 people cycle. We know that if there's 22 girls and there's 40 students in total, to work out the number of boys, we could do 40 minus 22, which would leave us with 18. So there's 18 boys. And then to work out the number of boys that walk, we could do 18, take away 7, take away 6, which would leave you with an answer of 5. So you know that 5 boys walk to school. And it says that in terms of working out the number of students in total that walk to school, we're going to do the 5 plus the 9, which is 14. So tables really help with these questions because sometimes just reading the words can be confusing at times. Okay, next question. So working out probabilities. So it says the number of red cubes in the box is the same as the number of yellow cubes, and it wants us to complete the table. So we know total probability adds up to 1, right? So we can do 1 minus 0.2, and that would give us 0.8. Because we know that the red and the yellow have the same probability, we're going to divide this number by 2, and this will give us 0.4. So therefore, you have 0.4 probability for red and 0.4 for yellow. Then it now says there are 12 blue cubes in the box. Work out the total number of cubes. So we know the probability of picking a blue is 0.2. If we know that that 0.2 is equivalent to 12, to get from, we're going to do 1, because 1 is our total probability, divided by 0.2. That would be 5. So therefore, we're going to do 12 times the 5, and then that would give us 16. 12 because that's our number of blue, times by 5 because 0.2 times 5. So you want to do the 12 times 5 as well. So 60. Okay. Then looking at the next question. So Dion needs 50 grams of sugar to make 15 biscuits. So there are 3 times as much as flour as sugar, and there are 2 times as much as butter as sugar. So it says that Dion is going to make 60 biscuits. Work out the amount of flour she needs. Okay, so in terms of the flour that she needs, if we know that it's 3 times as much flour as sugar, we are therefore going to do 50 times 3 to work out how much grams of sugar how much grams of flour she needs, which is 150 grams. And then in terms of how many biscuits she's making, this 150 grams is for 15 biscuits. She wants to make 60 biscuits. So if you do 60 divided by 15, you end up with 4. So therefore, we need to times this 150 grams by 4 as well. And that would leave us with 600 grams of flour that Dion needs. Then it now says Dion has to buy all of the butter she needs to make 60 biscuits. She buys the butter in packs of 250 packs. So let's work out how much butter she needs. So it's 2 times as much butter as sugar. So we're going to do 50 times 2, which is 100 grams. So we know she needs 100 grams of butter for 15 biscuits. Because we know that we need to times by 4, because we've already done our 60 divided by 15 before, then we're going to do 100 because that's how much grams of butter she needs in 15 biscuits times 4. That will leave us with 400 grams of butter. Because she buys them in packs of 250 grams, we know that 1 pack is not enough. If she gets 2 packs, so times 2, that's 500 grams of butter in total. And even though it's more than what she needs, it means that she'll have enough. So therefore, we know that she would need 2 packs of butter. Then next question, highest common factor of 72 and 92. So we're going to be using our prime factor tree to help us there. So prime factor tree of 72, you could do 36 and 2. I always circle the prime factors so I don't miss any out. Then for 36, it could be 6 times 6. 6 can be divided further into 3 and 2. They're both prime factors, and so that would be the same here. Then with the 90, we can do 18 times 5. There's different ways, obviously. 18 times 5. Then 18 can be split up into 6 and 3. 3 is a prime factor, circle it, and then 6 split up into 3 and 2. So now we are going to draw our Venn diagram. So 1 for 72, 1 for 90. So what do they have in common? So they both have 2 3s. So this one and this one. So we can put the 2 3s in there. And you can even cross it out sometimes to help you know what you've already put in the Venn diagram. And they both have a 2 in common. So that's going in the middle. So what's left? 72, has another 2 and another 2. So that would go on the 72 side. 90 just has the 5. So in terms of working out your highest common factor, it's always the numbers within the middle of the Venn diagram and you multiply them together for HCF. So you're going to do 3 times 3 times 2, which should leave you with an answer of 18. So we know our highest common factor is 18. Then the next one, it says the diagram shows the front front elevation, side elevation of a solid shape. And it wants us to draw a sketch of this solid shape. So as we can see, right, this solid shape, if the plan is like a circle and like the front and side elevation is rectangle, we can think along the lines of this could be a cylinder because your plan is more of like the view from the top essentially. So not from like the front. So we're gonna draw a cylinder, okay? And it wants us to give the dimensions. So with our circle cylinder, we want to make note of the radius. So the radius is always from the middle of the circle to the edge of the circle, and it says that it's a centimeter grid. So because there's 2 squares that make up that, we know that's 2 centimeters. Then for the front and the side dimensions, we know that the height is going to be, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares, so that's 5 centimeters. And side elevation, same length, right? So then we're going to draw a bottom of our cylinder. And then last thing is like the diameter. So diameter is, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, so we know that's 4 centimeters. And that's all the dimensions we need. Okay, and then you can just make that's like the radius, and you could just say that this is the diameter, and you can say that this is the height, just so they know. Then moving on to the next question, it says that shape A can be transformed to shape B by a reflection in the x-axis followed by a translation. Find the value of C and find the value of D. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our reflection of triangle A along the x-axis here. I'm going to remove that line so it's less confusing. So reflection along the x-axis, we're going to count how many squares towards the x-axis. So there's 2 squares. So it's reflection, right? So you want it to be equal. So you know it's going to be 2 squares on the opposite side. Once you've kind of worked out one of the lengths of your shape, which I'll put in a different color, it's so much easier to find the rest. So we know that this makes up 3 squares. So we want it to go 3 squares down and then draw your diagonal across. So that's our A. So now we need to work out our translation. So to go from A to B, if we go down 1 level, so -1, we would end up here. I'll put it as a dotted line or dotted shape. Then to go across, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces backwards, -6. So we know that the translation is -1 in the x direction. -6 in the x direction, and -1 in the y direction. So therefore, our answers are going to be -6 for C and -1 for D. Because remember, with your translations, you're changing your x goes at the top, changing y goes at the bottom. So on to our next question. It says a shop sells black pens, a pack of red pens, and a pack of green pens. So it's told us how many pens are in each pack for each color, and it's given us the ratio that on Monday how many numbers of packs were sold of each color, and it says that there were a total of 212 pens sold. So it wants us to work out the number of green pens sold. So if we know that 7 black pens packs of black pens were sold, and we know 1 pack of black pens, there's 2 pens. That means there's a total of 2 times the ratio of 7 for black pens, which would be 14. So we know 14 for the black pens sold in total. Number of red pens sold, which would be 5 times 3, which would be 15. And number of green pens, which would be 6 times 4, which is 24. So we know that essentially is our ratio in terms of number of pens. And so we're going to add these numbers together. So 14 plus 15 would be 29, plus 24, which would be 53. So that would leave us with 53. So this is not obviously complete because there was actually 212 pens sold, not 53 pens. So we're going to do 212 divided by 53, which should leave you an answer of 4. So we know that essentially we need to multiply each part of each colour by 4. So to work out the number of green pens sold, we are going to do to 24, because that was for green, and this one's for red. So 24 times 4, which would leave us with an answer of 96 green pens being sold. So moving on to the next question, it says here are two rectangles. It's telling us that the QR is equal to 10 centimeters. And it's saying that the length BC is the same as the length PQ. And it's given us the perimeter of ABCD as 26 and the area of PQRS as 45 centimeters squared. It wants us to work out the length AB. So what we can do is work out the other length of like PQ or SR, because they're the same. So these two would be the same. Reason why we can work that out is because we know the area is 45 centimeters squared. So we're going to do 45 divided by 10, which would leave us with 4.5. So we know that these are actually 4.5. It's also told us that BC is equal to PQ. So we know that this is also equal to 4.5. And with rectangles, the opposite length is also the same. It's told us that the perimeter of ABCD, this triangle, is 26. And remember, perimeter of a shape is you add all the lengths together. So 26 is going to be equal to our 4.5 plus our 4.5, and we could call these x plus x plus x. 4.5 add 4.5 is 9. So it'll be 9 add, and then x plus x is 2x. Then we're going to take away 9 from both sides. This would leave us with 17. So I'm trying to work that out in my head. That'll leave us with 17, yes, is equal to 2x. Then divide both sides by 2. And so x would be equal to 8.5. Therefore, the length AB is 8.5 centimeters. And last question of this paper. So it's given us the graph of y is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 3. It wants us to write down the coordinates of the turning point. So your turning point is always like that part of the curve where things turn around, essentially. So it's that point there. So there will be the coordinates of that point, which the x is 1, the y is minus 4. Because remember, whenever you're writing coordinates, it's x, then y. So that's that answer. And then in terms of the last question, it says use the graph to find the roots of the equation x squared is equal minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. So if you look here, it's basically the same equation. They've just replaced y as 0. So essentially the roots is when y is equal to 0, which is our x-axis. So we're looking at points of where the graph crosses the x-axis, which is here and here. So we can see that it crosses when x is equal to 3 and x is equal to minus 1. Therefore, our roots are going to be 3 and minus 1. And that comes to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you watched all this way, I hope this was useful. And yeah, stay tuned for more content.